All right, I think that there's so much that we can learn from simple observations, even one like this. Um, so, I'm always doing these observational videos from mainly two spots, and I offer them all for free for all the flat earthers to use. Um, and not really many people pay attention to my videos. A lot of the flat earthers don't don't know who I am, don't know what I do. But basically, I do these observations for learning and understanding how this horizon works, how perspective works on a flat plane. And I think it's really important that we use these observations to learn from. And that's the big thing. What can we learn from these? I think we can learn a whole lot. And I think a lot of my videos, I have some real good observational proofs. I don't script anything. I shoot from the hip. I just click on the microphone and I start talking. So I don't script anything, but we got to look at the angle of light. Um, you know, how the sky and the horizon converge together. The angle of light hitting it. Um, there's many things to take into consideration, not just one. There's multitudes of um, effects that occur, when you're looking out across a vast amount of water. The mirroring effect, miraging, they want to call it mirage, and how you see, it's an illusion, yeah. It's an illusion, but only when it fits their description of an illusion, not our description. Because of how we see the sunset, it appears to set, but you know, look at the angle that we are viewing it from on a flat surface. And when the sun's directly overhead of you, you can't just look directly up at it and stare at it. But when it's on the horizon, you can. Why? And that's mainly because it's being filtered through all the atmosphere, uh, you know, evaporated water molecules. I don't claim to know it all either, but if people want to follow me through my journey of observational proofs, how things work, depending on the temperature, the mirroring, the atmosphere, the angle of light coming down at the time, whether the sun's behind you, in front of you, on the side of you. These all make a difference when you're observing. And, like I said, I mainly observe from two locations and I do it intentionally so the viewers can get used to these markers, these bird racks, and get used to where basically I stand. I know I don't, give you GPS coordinates, but anybody can go on Google Earth to find Bayport, uh, the fishing pier, the boat dock, boat ramp, whatever you want to call it. And you can find these parks there, and anybody can look at it. Now, as you're viewing this, I hope you're actually watching the video, because the video really does give you a perspective of how this convergence is. At the beginning of it, think about how if this bridge was, 100 miles long. I mean, me between it, the water, and the top of this bridge. This is a little walk bridge. How it would converge and just mash into the ground. Two parallel lines, will eventually meet. And I don't care how good of a zoom you got. Eventually, you can't see any further than where that convergence is, and that's not actually where the curvature of Earth is. It's just where everything converges to. there's not really a curvature to Earth. It's all convergence. And, our perspective is another thing. They don't want you to use perspective in, explaining how the surface of the ground and the surface of the sky converge together as far as in a perspective way. Um, Depending on where you're at, if you're close to the water or higher up, you're going to see different effects occur. It's also like, my board test where I showed how, on an angle, your board's just going to be a little sliver, and the only way to see, more of that surface is to rise higher. So you're rising higher so you can see more of the surface. You're not rising higher to see over the curvature of Earth. And this is where I stand. Now, I have a lot of experience of being out on the water in a boat. I see how the tides move in and out. And that plays a big role too, how water moves. If you've got the tides, say your tide's going out, but you got an inshore wind blowing real hard, it will make that water rougher. Now, if you got an outgoing tide and the wind's blowing with it, it'll lay that water down and make it smooth like a baby's butt sometimes. Sometimes not, depending on also the further you get out. Storms can create waves. There's all kinds of things that create waves. As water approaches shallow ground, it can rise up higher and create swells, and these swells are like mountains or like hills to somebody that's low to the surface. They're not going to be able to see through that mound of water. And then again, at certain distances and at certain angles, that water will just actually turn into a mirror image. And what you're doing is you're looking at a mirror of the sky at that very edge of your perspective. We can zoom all the way out to the horizon, and I show how the clouds are actually reflecting off the water, or it could actually be reflecting off of the atmosphere, but in no way, shape, or form is it pulling anything up from behind it. Because like I say, I want to see a glober do show me a video where a guy on a bicycle goes over a hill and then use refraction to pull him back up to where we can visually see that bicyclist pedaling down the hill. It just is not going to happen. But they tell us that this is what happens out on the horizon, but what happens out on the horizon is more of the illusion. So I ask people to join me on my journey of observational proofs, and I can show you things that may blow your mind, but my views are very poor, but I'd like to increase them because, again, observational proofs are very good proofs of what we see and how perspective works. All right, I appreciate y'all watching. Thanks a lot, and like, share, subscribe. I offer all this stuff for free for everybody, whether they're globers or flat earthers or concavers.